Hey, what's up, guys? This is David Chase Taylor of 911truther.org. Today is January 23rd of 2026. So, based on breaking news and events, it appears that CIA headquarters located beneath CERN at Lake Geneva in Switzerland has greenlit acts of terror targeting the March for Life in Washington, D.C. on the date of January 23rd of 2026. The CIA chose this date for the March for Life because of the numerology, because 1, 2, 3 equals ABC equals atomic, biological, and chemical. And so some sort of biological or chemical related attack is imminent. In order to highlight the March of Life on an international level, just prior to the impending attack, U.S. President J.D. Vance is going to give a speech. And it is likely during this speech that the CIA is going to stage an escalating wave of terrorism that is most likely going to be scapegoated onto so-called left-wing domestic terror groups such as Antifa, such as Nashi, such as Turtle Island Liberation Front, etc. There's also the possibility of a mass shooting by a trans shooter that will likely be executed by the Israeli National Police or the Israeli Mossad. But the most likely scenario is that the CIA sets off a bunch of truck bombs or pipe bombs or suicide bombings during this event. So VBIED, vehicle-borne improvised explosive device, these are truck bombings, car bombings, what we call back on a couple years ago, 17 vehicles were stolen from a auto dealership in Minneapolis. And so car bombing attacks, suicide bombing attacks, possibly left-wing in nature. The CIA staged to date 4 what are called self-immolation attacks, where people basically set themselves on fire. There's also the realistic possibility of pipe bombings. There was pipe bombs found outside the DNC and the RNC on January 6th. There's also the possibility of vehicular ramming attacks, dragging attacks, mass shooting attacks, stampede attacks. The CIA is going to terrorize this group of people because these are right-wing Christian, predominantly right-to-life people. And so the CIA wants to reignite the pro-choice, pro-life movement in the United States, which has been relatively dormant since U.S. President Donald J. Trump signed an executive order returning the rights of abortions back to the states, so the states can decide which if they want to have abortion and at what period the cutoff is. Obviously, states like Texas and other more conservative states have outlawed abortion, but passing the heartbeat bill. But in Washington, D.C., is just crawling with CIA operatives at this moment. The Israeli Mossad is likely inside Washington, D.C., ready to attack. We don't know what type of attack they're going to do, but based off the previous anti-abortion attacks, which have consisted of bombings, mass shootings, political assassinations, and given the climate with ICE in Minneapolis, I expect that there has been an exodus of these state-sponsored protesters to Washington, D.C., and so they're likely going to wage a full-scale clash between Antifa, anti-ICE protesters, and pro-life protesters in Washington, D.C. This is being organized by Switzerland. As I previously mentioned in multiple videos, the CIA is going to stage some sort of an event in the United States during the live broadcast of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, where everybody's focused on around the world. All the leaders are there, and then they're going to try to tarnish the image of the United States, especially in the aftermath of Donald J. Trump forming his new Board of Peace. And so they want to make the United States look as out of control as possible to make Donald Trump look weak as a leader. And so they're going to stage all sorts of mayhem surrounding this event. So in no particular order. There's also the possibility of 9/11 style attacks, possibly targeting the crowd. And this is going to be most likely. It's going to start out with like possibly suicide bombings, mass shootings, grenade attacks, pipe bombings. But then it's going to, once the attention of the world is drawn into Washington D.C., then we're going to get the major attack, which is likely going to be a 9/11 style attack or truck bombing attacks, possibly targeting the White House, possibly targeting the United States Capitol building, possibly targeting soft targets such as churches, malls, shopping centers, movie theaters, sporting events, schools, colleges, universities. There's also the realistic possibility that the CIA will go with an Islamic angle and stage some sort of Iranian-backed Hamas-related attack targeting this mass, because there's literally going to be over 1 million people in Washington, D.C. And so what the CIA does is whenever there's a large amount of people gathered, that's like enticing for them. And so they always try to execute attacks on major events, especially ones that are so polarizing as the right to life or pro-choice in this particular scenario. And the CIA has, if we trace the funding of the Right to Life, March for Life movement, we would find out that it comes from a Swiss bank account. No doubt about it. They have been. This is one of the most divisive things in America that has, like I said, been almost non-existent since the Trump administration. Basically redacted Roe versus Wade. Obviously the United States Supreme Court building, which ruled against Roe versus Wade, is obviously a likely target, as well as pro-life politicians in Washington, D.C., so MAGA politicians. And I mean, there's a realistic possibility that they'll blow J.D. Vance's head off or something to that effect. So I wouldn't put that past the CIA. So this is a red alert for the March to Life protest in Washington, D.C. on the date of Friday, January 23rd of 2026. The CIA in Switzerland is going to stage some sort of an attack or terror-related events, political assassinations, bombings, mass shootings, suicide bombings, terror attacks surrounding this event. So they might not directly attack the March for Life itself, but they could stage in the background as it's going through Washington, D.C. They could stage attacks targeting embassies, other NGOs such as the World Bank or anything like that. So it's just for all of Washington, D.C. And they could also stage like Somali attacks, Iranian attacks, Russian attacks, Pakistani attacks, left-wing, right-wing. It doesn't matter. CIA in Switzerland, while they're hosting, because this is like, they want to spawn a second global biological pandemic and choke out the U.S. economy. And so this is the perfect opportunity to scapegoat some religious right-wing kook for allegedly flying a plane into a building, and then they'll claim that it released some sort of biological contagion. So obviously, if the CIA stages any sort of terror-related event surrounding the March for Life in Washington, D.C. on this particular date, Friday, January 23rd, on this ABC numerology, which before it was CBRN, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear, it was ABC, atomic, biological, and chemical. So biological and chemical are obviously the ones that we have to watch out for, because that's the ones that they want to spawn a second global biological pandemic. And that's why I publish reports all the time for an abortion virus or anti-abortion virus, because this they want to abort the United States. And so nothing would be more fitting than if they staged an anti-abortion or pro-life abortion-related attack that basically ends the United States as we know it. And this is all coming out of Geneva. And as I said previously, they're going to stage some sort of major catastrophic event targeting the United States during this World Economic Forum, which ends today. So something is expected in the United States today via Switzerland. and her CIA. And so obviously if this happens, I kindly ask that you download this video and share it with local, state, and federal law enforcement, military, and intelligence officials, as well as with local, national, and international media outlets.